All right, we're live. What is going on, everybody? It's Jeff from the Teach Better team, and I got Drew Coleman with me, Mr. Drew Coleman with me. It's Thursday night. It's 9 p.m. Eastern time, which means we just finished up Master Chat. Drew, how you feeling right now, man? Are your
Hey,
fingers still going?
hey, fingers are going great, but I'm feeling inspired myself just by listening and watching and seeing what everyone was thinking. So
I
I'm like
love it.
ready to go.
We're ready to go. We're going to dive into the questions, what Drew was looking to get out of the chat. Did we get it out of the chat? What's got him excited? Hopefully, you'll jump in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the chat. Let us know what you thought about the answers and the questions, everything like that. And we'll be back in about 52 seconds, I think. And we'll be back with Drew. No matter how many times I hear it, I'm always just jamming during that song. Where it's just I can't help myself. It's
I was
going
right
good.
there with you, Jeff. Right there with you.
I love it. So Drew, we're gonna get right to this. I know some folks are watching this because I can see that on the back end from all the different channels. So we're on Facebook on our page. We're in our Facebook group. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch, and we are on YouTube. So lots of places for people to be dropping in. If you are watching right now, please drop in the comments. Say what's up to Drew. Let us know where you're at. Were you in the chat tonight, or just chiming in for the video? And if you were in the chat, let us know what your thoughts were about the conversation that went on there. So, Drew, as we get going here, I don't remember when you signed up to moderate, but I do know that we get booked out pretty far, so it may have been a while ago. And I don't know how long it was that you thought through the questions and before you got them over to team and stuff like that. But when you were putting things together, what were you thinking about when you were putting the questions together? What were you hoping people were going to take away from tonight's chat? The conversation, the topic was inspiration in these times. What was it that you were hoping people were going to get? And then the second part of the question is, do you feel like they took that away from the chat tonight?
Yeah, Jeff. Good question. When I was thinking about when you all asked me to moderate this particular Twitter chat tonight, it was last fall, right? And it was last fall when we were kind of thinking that the pandemic would be a little bit further behind us,
Yeah.
and so when we got to this moment, we were still in this particular moment. We are still in some places are still in distance remote learning. Some people are going back to hybrid, and some people have been full learning for the entire year. And so I was really thinking about when I sat down with my teaching and learning coaches, that when we began to talk about what can we talk about, we really began to talk about what is keeping us going through these times. How are we staying motivated, and how are we motivating those on our team? And so I think that we all know that every day we can have others that can inspire us, and we also have days where we don't feel as inspired as other days. And so for me, this was a personal chat where I really wanted to talk with others on what are you doing to inspire you, and how are you moving through these times with so many different things being thrown at us. And so I was hoping that through this particular Twitter chat, that others would be able to hear from other individuals how they are being inspired by others, and also how they are encouraging the ones that work alongside them, whether they're their team members, whether they're their students. How are we as a professional learning network, as a professional community, how are we being there to support each other? And tonight I got from this, I think the other part of your question, Jeff, was did I get from this, or kind of what I was expecting? And really, most of the educators really surprised me in the fact that even through this pandemic, we're still pushing forward, and we're still inspired by some of the same things that inspired us before the pandemic, but also how we are supporting others. And I think that is one of the best
Yeah.
things about education. We are here to support each other.
Yeah, for me. That's been such an inspiration to watch over these last 12 months now, give or take, of the way in which educators have stepped up, not just in the obvious ways of how they've had to step up in the classrooms, virtual, hybrid, and all everything in between, but also how they've stepped up to support each other, like you're saying, and reaching out and just sharing like never before, and just being there for each other. So just, I mean, absolutely, yeah. It's been incredible to see that. So, some quick highs here. Jackie's in the house, Lydia's in the house, Adam's in the house. Tim, always good to see you as well. All good things about the chat so far. So keep those coming. Pump Drew up a little bit for us. So Drew, let me ask. I'm just gonna kind of flip the what you were hoping to get. Like, what is it that's kept you going? What's inspiring you? What's continuing to inspire you as we go through this whole thing?
Well, there's really two things that really keep me inspired. I think one of the things is having a great supportive family, having that unit that when I come home, I have the person to talk to really inspire me, and not only inspire me but to encourage me, right? And so having that unit, having people in your corner that are not necessarily at your job that inspire you has really kept me going.
Yeah.
So my family has really kept me going by always being a listening ear when I'm unsure about something, or also being there to like push me forward when I felt like I'm tired, but also having a great team. I get a chance to work with some of the best educators down here in southern New Mexico, and the team of people that I get a chance to lead and work alongside keep me inspired. My teaching and learning coaches, my principal. Hey, Stacy. Stacy is one of my old teachers. It's great to see you. But really having a great team that is working alongside with me has
Yeah.
really kept me inspired. And I'm fortunate to not only have a great team, but I also have a great boss that works alongside me, and my deputy superintendent who like pushes forward, never ever ever stops, and so that keeps me going. And that's been the thing, and also knowing that through this pandemic, as we are in different forms of our learning, of our teaching, it is up to us to make sure that we give out the quality education to all of our students, because we
Yeah.
begin to look at the equity gap. And so that's kept me inspired, because I don't want to see children, because of the pandemic, lose so many things that we have taught them. And so I think one of the most important things right now, and what inspires me, is to hope that we're making a difference in these students' lives.
I love that. So tell me, have you been throughout this school year? What has been your situation? Have you been in full person? Has it been hybrid the whole time? Has it been all over the place? What has been the
So
status so far?
So down here, we have had a little bit of both, Jeff. We
Okay.
started the year in complete remote learning,
Okay.
learning from home, and then we went back into the buildings. And
Like
then
everyone back into the buildings, or
like so, we started with our elementary. So our
okay, so
elementary
they came
went
back.
back into the building, kind of in like a staggered form.
Yeah, we
Elementary,
saw a lot of that. A lot of
yeah.
that. Yeah, around the
So
country.
staggered form, but then that was all depending on like COVID cases, right, and COVID
Sure.
numbers, and so because of the times that we're living in, there were times where we had to shut it down, and then everyone goes back to remote learning, right, and then we come back into the building, and so for the last about month, we've been in hybrid learning, and starting March the 29th, we're going to be full back into the classrooms
Okay.
5 days a week. So we're like pumped up. We're excited, right?
Yeah, yeah. Excited to get back in there.
We're able to see students back in the buildings, and not just in the hybrid form, but also have full classes. And so that's exciting. And then at the same time, it's a bit scary, right? Because
Sure. Yeah.
we want to do what's best for students. And so I'm fortunate to
Yeah.
work with a great district where at the heart of everything we do and everyone, the heart of everything we do are our students. And so we've kind of been back and forth. And so when you think about inspiration, as educators, we are flexible. We are known to be flexible, but at the same time, even educators sometimes we get a little hold up. Whoa, what are we going to be doing? And so it's kind of been where we've been.
I got to, so through this whole thing, this whole year, and obviously we're not done yet, but we're getting close to the end of the year now. We're starting to creep towards that. And all these different changes and all the different ways that you've had to shift constantly, and to help lead your district and shift with it. What's been, we talked a little bit beforehand about some of the good that's come out of this, in the sense of things that we've been forced to either to focus on more than we ever had be, or shift and learn and grow because of this pandemic. And we talked about hopefully we can take some of that into the, back when we get more and more normal. What is one thing, and I'm not necessarily saying the best thing, the only thing, because there's a lot that are up there, but like what's one thing that you have, that you and your district, your team has learned, shifted, changed, grown into, that you're hoping and planning to make sure it stays in what you do and in your plan, that it stays a focus going to the new year?
I think, Jeff, one of the best things that we've learned here is the use of technology, and how to use technology effectively, and not just a game, or not just an afterthought, but how to effectively integrate the use of technology into our classrooms, so that technology is used as a tool for learning, and not just, hey, when you get done with this activity, you can go and log on to your computer. But here we have really been able to push our teachers and work with our teachers on different programs that they're able to use via, technology. And not only that, but how can you shift the teaching in your classroom, where you're able to do, how you're able to effectively do, station teaching, how you're able to pre-record some of those hooks for your lessons, have work for students to begin on, and then bring them back together. And so I think with this pandemic, it has forced some of the teachers who were hesitant about using technology, or for the ones who were very effective in the classroom, and so they didn't have to use technology, right? So they were limited in their use of technology. And I think that through this pandemic, it has forced us to become proficient in the use of, whether it's
Absolutely.
Google or Zoom or whatever platform. It has forced us to become fluent in those things. But it also has allowed us as educators to learn that there are multiple ways to do what we're doing, right? So I'm just thinking about, like, at the elementary level. Not only can you do small groups in your classroom, but you can do breakout rooms via Google. You can do breakout rooms on Zoom, and how we support our students. And so I'm hoping, as we move forward, that those things that we have learned to do effectively, that we keep doing those things, working with students in small groups, pre-recording those lessons when needed, that we are able to do it. I'm going to tell you, Jeff, I've seen some phenomenal educators that took what we were doing and just elevated it to a completely different level. And I think that it's because of the pandemic that, it forced us to connect with our students in so many different platforms.
Yeah, there's, if we look hard enough and get past all the bad that has been there, there's some good there that hopefully we can take out, and you just named off a bunch of it there. Mel, it's good to see you, by the way, Mel. Good to see you here. The topic was inspiration in these times. And yes, I know that I speak super fast. I apologize. I don't try to. It's just how I am. So I will try to slow it down a little bit when I see Mel in there. I'm gonna do that for you. I'm gonna get there. So, and then I'm gonna go right back to talking fast now, because that's just my speed. Drew, one of the things that I like doing on Master Chat Recaps is throwing a question or two of your own at you.
Okay.
So that we can kind of get you like in real time talking, but also because one of my favorite things about Master Chat is, like, you and I were both in the chat the whole time, but I didn't even see all your answers because it's going so fast. Like, and we have it's a different experience because I'm engaging with someone here that might start down a rabbit hole. You're there. It's like, I don't always get to see everyone's answers. So like, I don't necessarily know your answers. And I know other folks in here as well, same thing. They might not have caught everything you put out. So I'd like to throw them at you. So I got to look at them really quick because I don't remember all the
Okay.
questions. So let me pull one up for you. So this one's good. I kind of wanted to go here anyway. So I'm going to go right with, it was question 2, which was how do you inspire your students? So I'm going to put that in you with a slight twist of, how are you helping inspire your team and your students and your community through all of this? Like, what have been the things that you have done that have worked? And maybe if you want to share things that have not worked, that'd be fine too. But what is it? What are you doing right now to help inspire folks around you?
Well, Jeff, first off, everything's work, right? Everything's work.
Yeah, perfect. Everything is perfection. No mistakes here. I got you.
Well, but in complete honesty, I think one of the most important things, and when you talk about how do you inspire, what have I done to inspire others, what I try to do is always be completely authentic and open and transparent. And I think that through this pandemic and through this time that we're living in now, one of the things that we have to be completely honest with the people that we work alongside, the people that we lead our different communities, is we have to be open and transparent. And in the work that I do, I'm always very honest and open, because there are certain things that we cannot control, right? There are things that are happening right now with our schools and kind of where we're at that are out of the hands of us at the local level. So I try to inspire people by, one, being open and honest and telling them the truth, but not allowing ourselves or the people that I work with to have a moment where we begin to grow angry, or that we begin to kind of stew in that particular moment. So one thing is, I'm always honest, I'm always open, but then also I always think about, I am someone, how can we work through this? Not about the problem, but I'm more always talking about how can we work through it. And so, I don't know if I'm great at it or how it works, but I just know that when I don't think of trying to inspire people. I think of myself as trying to encourage people. How do we get through this? And so I think one of the most important things that I do is I always try to be very transparent and authentic in everything that I'm doing. I don't like to make things up or not tell the full picture. I think when you do that, that's when you begin to not inspire people, not encourage people, but you begin to create those pockets of doubt. And so that's what I've done through this pandemic. In the role that I serve in, I've always tried to be very honest and open. And then I inspire people by always reminding them that there's greatness inside of them. And not only is there greatness inside of them, but they have the ability to do much more than they think or that we believe that we can. And you lead by your personality. You lead by the way that people see you. And I have so many things to be thankful for, so many things to be happy about, and so many things that we're moving forward in education, that I hope that through my actions that others can see, hey, if he's not giving up, then I'm not going to give up. Let's work together. And more importantly, Jeff, I work with a team, a team of people, and we encourage each other.
I love that, and so I love every piece of that. The authenticity, I think, always important, but so important during all of this, because there was so much extra stress and worry and unknown on top of everything. And so being transparent so that they knew they were getting whatever truth you had, whatever facts you had, whatever information you had. And then also that authenticity, when you do that, leading by example, like through your actions, when they know the actions that they're witnessing are your authentic actions, they are that much more powerful. And then you touched on like just telling people that there's greatness inside of them. It is amazing what just telling someone like, hey, you got this, and I know that, even if you don't know that, like the power behind that. Like, I love that. I love every piece of that answer. All right, I gotta ask, because you joked about it, what's something that didn't work this year? Not necessarily around Aspire, but just in general, was there anything you guys did, and you could tell, this could be a funny story or like a life lesson, whatever you want to go, however you want to take it, but was there anything that you maybe thought was going to work that you were like, oh wait, never mind, this doesn't work during a pandemic? Like anything that popped up that you can recall?
Yeah. So
that
Jeff,
you also don't mind sharing, of course?
no, I don't mind sharing. So Jeff, so my role and my role for the district is I am curriculum and instruction. And so the heart of what I do is planning, is pacing, is scope and sequence, knowing what to teach, when to teach. And I really love to do PD on how can we teach this. And I think one of the things that we've learned through this pandemic is when you're talking about pacing, scope, and sequence, right? So we're saying, hey, we're going to teach this at this time.
Mm-hmm.
This pandemic has showed us that with this complete remote learning, that sometimes you can't stay on pace, right? So we've had to really look at what are our high priority standards, what are the things that we need to know. And we've had to take some of those, even though it's great to teach some of those things, we've had to take some of those things away so that our teachers can find balance. So when you say what didn't work, trying to do the year as if we were in a regular year,
As if we weren't in a pandemic. Yeah.
pandemic.
But that's the truth though, and
Yeah,
a lot of us went in it thinking that we might be able to pull that off, and it's just like when back in the spring when a lot of people flip, it was a lot of people that was said, hey, like I thought I was just gonna be able to flip it virtually and teach it
yeah,
the same way, but it
yeah,
doesn't. It paces differently.
yeah.
You're spot on, right? So
Yeah, and Jeff, we would have never known that didn't work if our teachers didn't say, "Hey, that does not work.
that's not yeah,
This is
exactly.
not working. Hey, I am not where I need to be." And so
Yeah.
I think there's some when you talk about inspiration and you talk about inspiring others, there's some true success if you listen to the people who are really doing the work each and every day.
Yes.
And so we took a time to really listen to our teachers and say, hey, this isn't working. And getting those teachers, getting those professional learning communities together to say, okay, this isn't working. So what will work? And so
Yeah.
that's been one of the things that we've been able to do is really look at how can we still teach our students, get them what they need, but more importantly, do it within a way that we're not overwhelming our teachers and they're feeling like
Yeah.
no one's listening to it. I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah, you want to inspire your teachers, empower them, and listen to them. Like, right,
Yeah,
just anything, and that's just another testament to the culture you have there, and the team you're building, and the relationships that they knew that they could come and say, "Hey, this just isn't working,"
yeah.
and that's awesome. I love that. All right, I'm going to throw one more at you,
Okay.
and then I'm going to let you. We're going to let you go. Let's see. Da-da-da. This is you sort of touched on this, but we didn't get to you. The Are you still inspired by the same things that inspired you before the pandemic? You mentioned that at the beginning that was one of the things that you noticed was a lot
Yeah.
of these educators that were still inspired by the same
Mhm.
thing. Is that true for you? And or are there more things now that are inspiring you that maybe weren't that are different? Right? What has shifted as far as the things that are really jazzing you up and getting you fired
Yeah.
up and inspired?
Jeff, so that was one of the questions that I think it was question number 7, and I really wanted to hear from other educators. Are you still inspired the same way that you were before? And for me, so I think that was the question you asked me. Put me on the spot,
Yeah.
man. I think one of the things for me is that I'm still inspired by some of the same things or many of the same things that inspired me before the pandemic started. But because of the pandemic, I think not so much inspiration, but my focus has kind of
Good
shifted,
point.
right? Because sometimes we live life thinking that we have so much time, right? We have time to do this, we have time to do this. But through the pandemic, it has really made me sit back and it has allowed me to evaluate time, and not only time but how do we spend that time and how do we utilize that time, right? So it has helped me to see that no, I'm inspired by other educators. I'm inspired by seeing students do the work and seeing the light bulb come off. But in addition to those things, I'm also inspired. I am encouraged when I'm able to complete tasks and spend time with my family, right? So that has kind of shifted where the time that I have now, I really believe that I value that time more. But more than anything, I try to spend that time when I'm not directly involved with work, with people and things that really matter the most to me. So I'm still inspired the same way, but also my focus on how I allow that inspiration to be utilized has probably shifted, right? I'm
Yeah.
still inspired by teachers. I'm still inspired by parents who are working with their child. But more than anything, I'm inspired by the community of people that support me. But then how much time do I have to spend with those people that
Yeah.
invest in me? And so that has made a big difference.
I love it. We are all inspired by you, my friend. I appreciate you so much for leading us tonight, for jumping on again. I want to have you share how people can best get connected with you. I got your Twitter up there, but is that the best route to get you on Twitter? Are you more active on Instagram? Is there a website, anything like that? We should.
Well,
How can people connect with you?
hey, so you can connect with me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active at Mr. Drew Coleman on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook at Drew Coleman. But if you want to really connect with me about education, about how we can just network and learn from each other, you can always find me on Twitter. It's probably one of my favorite platforms.
You can also check out episode 151 of Teach Better Talk. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
151. So teachbetter.com/podcast/Drew Coleman. 151 was on there, and it was a great. I had to go digging for it. I'm like, I know it was a while ago. I had to go figure it. It was 151. So another great spot there. So I really appreciate you being on, man. I really do. We'll be back next week. Master Chat, same time, same place, 8 o'clock Eastern time over on Twitter, 9 o'clock Eastern time here. Wherever you're watching right now with the live recap. Next week, we have the amazing Jamie Fowler-White leading us. So super excited about that. I believe Ray is live with her afterwards. So really appreciate it. More people dropping in, saying good night, saying Hans just shouting out that gift of time, Livia being inspired. I love it. Appreciate you all watching. Make sure you're connected with Drew and hanging out, and we'll be, like I said, back next week. Drew, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everything you do. And you inspire us every day, man. We appreciate y'all. And we will see you all next week.